who's watching from Mpumalanga. Thank you so much for connecting with us. And I also see Deirdre, but she might be in the room as well. Is Deirdre here? No, so she's also just joining us virtually. But thank you so much to the community that's online. Please do keep commenting, sharing with us some of your quotes, and remember to use hashtag Unite to Grow as well as hashtag IAU Dissemination. So moving on to our next showcase partner. They are from the Durban University of Technology, and their project was focused around carbon literacy. So if you remember back the conversation earlier on this morning when UKZN was presenting, and one of the speakers mentioned the importance of understanding climate change is going, do we have the right kind of education in that space, right? So please welcome Professor Sunday Ojo to tell us a bit more about what they are doing with carbon literacy.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope the food hasn't made you dozing. I hope I will cheer you up. Our project is carbon literacy for youth employability and job creation in sub-Saharan Africa. That's the partnership. The IAU, they call it, basically called Network Partnership. You can see the UK project lead, the Sheffield Island University. We have DUT as the Sub-Saharan African project lead. Then we have our ecosystem player there, Innovate Durban. Then we have Ladoke Akintola University from Nigeria, as well as Kisii University in Kenya as the partner. We need to align the selection of our project with the IAU goals and objectives, and then we have defined the goal of our project as we have seen. There's need to enhance the capacity of sub-Saharan Africa youths to explore green innovation and entrepreneurship opportunities for employability enhancement and job creation. Also, we have the goal also to contribute to strengthening the capacity of sub-Saharan African higher education institutions to integrate carbon literacy for innovation and entrepreneurship into their academic curriculum provisioning and research and innovation agenda. To put things in context, we are dealing with a twin challenge of climate change and youth employment in the sub-Saharan Africa. As you are aware, which has been commented here, there's the youth population bulge in sub-Saharan Africa. This could turn out to be demographic dividend or ticking time bomb. It all depends on how the issue of youth employment is dealt with. That's very, very key. Now, from our initial study, we discover that the climate change challenge and youth employment challenge, they are interrelated and they are context defined. You know, of course, every problem is context defined, and that is why we cannot extrapolate solution provided in one context just straight away directly into another context to solve what apparently similar problem. As you may be aware, our economy, the various economic sectors in sub-Saharan Africa, are very reliant on natural resources and climate. And on one hand, all the degradation effects of the climate change poses a challenge to economic growth and employment. On the other hand, the various adaptation measures to climate change to reduce carbon footprint, they offer green innovation and entrepreneurship opportunities for job creation, while increasing the resilience of the existing ones. It's only logical to provide an integrated, contextualized solution to this twin challenge of sub-Saharan Africa. What is the problem we are trying to address? Basically, it's how to leverage sub-Saharan Africa contextualized carbon literacy for youth employability and job creation in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, to those of us who are into research, every research must have an argument. We reduce the problem to this, that we want to validate the argument that a socio-economically sub-Saharan Africa contextualized carbon literacy can enable the leveraging of carbon literacy for youth employment and job creation in sub-Saharan Africa contexts such as Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa. Now, we discovered from our initial study in phase 1 that commonly carbon literacy is used as an instrument, as a measure, to educate people to be aware of the climate change, the effects of their activities on the environment, and then be able to encourage behavioral change, positive change towards the climate. Now, what you have in purple is the common definition of carbon literacy, as we find in the literature. But we argue that in the context of sub-Saharan Africa, we cannot make carbon literacy as an end in itself. Right? It must be a means to an end. So we redefined carbon literacy as we find in the UK definition of carbon literacy. So we have defined it as you have in the purple, that we now extend it to say as a leverage to opening up access, say, green innovation entrepreneurship opportunities for individual, community, and national and socio-economic well-being. So you will see the rationale behind the solution we are providing. This is our methodology, as we call it, or how we have modeled things. As you can see, we make provision. What you have here, we have the carbon literacy for green innovation entrepreneurship module learning management system platform, which we developed. But how did we develop this? This arrow is telling us that we draw the information from a source. We first build a new knowledge area, which we have called Carbon Literacy for Green Innovation Entrepreneurship, with 2 modules, the Carbon Literacy and Green Innovation Entrepreneurship Literacy. And we use sustainability design thinking as a problem-solving framework, when we're integrating these 2 literacy knowledge areas, carbon literacy and green innovation entrepreneurship. What did we do? We adapted the MMU, Manchester Metropolitan University, Carbon Literacy Training Toolkit, developed for the UK context. We adapt this into the first module, which you have the series of it here, the one in purple. That is the carbon literacy topics that we developed. Then we have the green one, Green Innovation Entrepreneurship module. Then we found the UK South African Tech Hub Launch League Toolkit, also funded by the British High Commission in partnership with the South African government. So we engage this, we adapt that also to build up our green innovation entrepreneurship. Adaptation is a form of invention. That is the principle guiding our decision here. Now, what we did when we built up this knowledge area, we developed toolkit, a digital toolkit, using Moodle as our learning management system platform to be able to develop materials that we can digitally train youths from different sources. I will explain that shortly. Now, you can see that we also established what we call a dialogue forum, where we invited a number of people in South Africa. For example, we focus on all the universities of technologies. University of Technology, we invited them to a forum, a 2-day, 2 sessions in 2 days that we have for us to dialogue on this new idea we have developed to integrate into academic curriculum in universities, research innovation activities. Now, the effect on higher education that we expect, institutions, the strengthening of the carbon literacy for green innovation entrepreneurship, academic capacity, for them to be able to integrate or mainstream to their thing, and then the knowledge empowerment of youth about not only about the climate change, but how they can benefit from measures to mitigate climate change. As you can see, I think I moved something up here. Bear with me. Now, that's just to bring a bit more clarity if my complex structure, is confusing to people. Now, that's what we are talking about. This is what we're taking 50 youths, participants from Kenya, from Nigeria, and South Africa. We had a blended learning approach, which is the delivery mode, which is diversity aware, by which we mean that we have youth gathered in the laboratory in Kisii University in Kenya, another laboratory in Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Nigeria, and then DUT, the laboratory there. The delivery of these materials were done, for instance, the carbon literacy were done from Nigeria, LAUTECH, as also from Kenya, KSU, while we deliver the green innovation entrepreneurship from DUT to all the participants in the 3 locations. So that's what I mean is blended delivery mode. Then we had a pre and post training CL for GIE knowledge assessment. We assessed their knowledge before and then after. We conducted a T-test analysis, and the result which shows significant difference, between the knowledge they had before and what they have after. We also conducted sentiment analysis, result also that show positive sentiment towards what we are taking them through. Now, this from DUT, participant, South Africa, participant from based in DUT laboratory, that's the laboratory we use for this purpose. You can see LAUTECH in Nigeria, that's there. And then, of course, Kenya is more flamboyant, when they have T-shirts, they have everything there. And, of course, our officials from the British Council had the time to check upon us, to see whether we are doing it right or not. We left them to be happy by the time they left us. So these are you can recognize 2 British Council people there. Then the way leadership of the project based in DUT. Now, just rounding up, now what is it we have made out here that we have to show? Now, one, we created Sub-Saharan African contextualized carbon literacy for green innovation entrepreneurship knowledge, a body of knowledge area. To our knowledge, we don't find it in literature anywhere. It's the combination of carbon literacy and green innovation entrepreneurship literacy, which we have called carbon literacy for green innovation entrepreneurship literacy. That's what we call it there. Then we created the module Moodle-enabled digital management systems platform, which we have used to train those 50 youths. We conducted the training workshops for those 50 youths from those 3 countries. We established postgraduate research and innovation, education and training, knowledge thematic areas. And we've recruited some doctoral and master students currently studying this area. When British Council is asking for sustainability, we believe by creating critical mass of people with capacity to work in this area, not only to teach it, but also to research in this area, we're building that critical mass of people with that capacity will be able to sustain it. That's our thinking. We established a dialogue forum, which I said we invited education institution, colleagues from Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa, and then the ecosystem player. We gathered virtual, and we had those 2 sessions, 2 different days, and it was well received. And of course, our project is the award winner. We scooped the IAU Oscars Award, voted most impactful project during the program period, thanks to the organizers. And just in finishing, what's our next step? Where are we going? We work from February to January next year. We should have ready a full-fledged green innovation and entrepreneurship curriculum with a framework for its higher education institutional integration into academic curriculum, research innovation, research and innovation in each areas, and then our short learning programs. Now universities, we pilot with our 3 universities involved. The UK one, they will amend what they are already doing because they are focusing on carbon literacy alone. Partner institutional stakeholder engagement will be on so that we ensure that there's ownership of what we are doing. It's not that we are imposing anything. Now, we are evolving this, our current module-enabled digital platform, into a massive open online course, which they equally called MOOC. You know, one of us will be in Germany in the next, throughout the month of March. British Council, you can close your ears. We are spending our own money. So we want to understudy the European MOOC. If we can adapt, we believe we can adapt. They've invited us, to come around and research with them, how we can adapt that so that we adapt to the sub-Saharan African context. So we transform our module-enabled platform into that. We will be following up on our dialogue forum, and then, of course, we intend to be having summer schools. In closing, we've seen a paradigm shift in the British Council development funding project funding. The British, the common thing before is that whoever pays the piper dictates the tune. So we're giving you the money, we must dictate what you do with it. But now, they brought the money to us, and they say, find a developmental challenge within the African, sub-Saharan Africa context, and engage it. So we're really delighted. Let's give a rousing clapping to British Council for this job. And we see it as an opportunity to provide African solutions to African problem, and then, by extension, to global problems. The Africa should cease to be knowledge consumers. We must be producing knowledge that others can learn from. African funding agencies, you are challenged by what British Council has done. Let's go forward on this. And lastly, we would like to invite you to our stand outside there at the end. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Professor Sunday. Please give him a round of applause. I really like that focus of mention to say that South Africans and Africa producing solutions to our own challenges and exporting those. And what I'm seeing coming through from the universities is that that work is happening. The world just needs to catch on, but we're there. And very top quality projects, really incredible insights, and I'm learning quite a lot. I'm just going to ask the sound team to please get the presentation for Showcase 8 ready, because we're going to do that next. And while they put that up, I wanted to share a quote with you from Nelson Mandela, who once said, "We can change the world and make it a better place. It is in our hands to make the difference." And looking at each of the projects that have been showcased today, it's really seeing how we're making that difference. I know a lot of the projects are in early stage, but we can see what the roadmap looks like. And we can say that we know in the next year, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, given the right support, they really can galvanize the support and action to make that difference. And we look forward to seeing that. Is our presentation ready? Yes, okay, great. So I'd like to invite, oh wait, can we pause? Not that one, the WITS one, Showcase 8, cool. So as they put that up, I'd like to welcome to the stage our next speaker from the University of Witwatersrand. And their program was focused around creating a WITS entrepreneurship clinic accelerator program. So they're going to be, I say they, but I actually can't see my speaker. Oh, is she speaking? Okay, she must come tell you her name, because I had the other gentleman's name down. So I was going to introduce Uskumbuzo, but I'll ask the lady to introduce herself when she comes up. Please give the WITS team a round of applause.
Thanks, Ziggy. Hello, everybody. As Ziggy is mentioning, Skumbuzo, who is the lecturer and academic behind the WITS Entrepreneurship Clinic, was not feeling well. He absolutely had to go, so we're going to represent the university. I'll introduce myself. What he didn't tell me, and I will stick with his presentation and try and represent it. He didn't tell me about the video, but please play it. Oh, is it afterwards? Okay. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So my name is Lebo, and I'm in the Development and Fundraising Office at WITS, so that's the advancement side. And so my role in this project from the beginning has been what Richard was talking about, the activation office and people that connect people. So at the university, we're the office that connect our academics, our students, and the WITS community, including alumni for all of you who graduated at the best Johannesburg University, which is WITS. It's not Ntsigi's one. So it's to connect all of you guys with everybody else that's interested in this, and that's why this was such a groundbreaking project, and that's why it was in the spirit of what we'd like to do. We just celebrated 100 years last year, and now we are like future facing what's up in the next 100 years, and this is the kind of project that's also kind of there. I would like to also acknowledge a part of Skumbuzo's crew, because this project sits within the School of Business Sciences. We have Kosi Khadebe and Eleanor Chipeta, who are, the academics. And thank you. And here we are with our partners within the AIU program and within the WITS Entrepreneurship Clinic. Ntobeko is representing the African ASEN, African Secular Economy Network, which is a network of, I think, over 100, or plus minus 100 institutions around Africa in the continent. And then next to him is Edwell Gumbo, who is in our WITS incubator, which we call the Tshimologong Digital Hub. It is in Braamfontein. It's 2 streets across from the university. It is an independent company. They look at digital entrepreneurship related things. Okay, let me do the 15 minutes thing quickly. So I've told you where the clinic sits. Okay, so obviously to the problems or the overview of the clinic is a lot of what the other universities spoke about. We're trying to solve the problem of unemployment, youth unemployment. We produce these graduates. Where must they work? Where are they going to work? Then the entrepreneurial ecosystem in our country is not so strong, and there's the stats and what the researchers have found. And then also problems within the informal economy, like how do we represent the informal economy, what models can work, what policies can be influenced, what can be done to actually accommodate that, because it is quite there in our country. And all of this, of course, is underpinned by the fourth industrial revolution and the brilliant, nice challenges that it presents to us. Okay, I might not stick to how strict this is, but obviously the point with entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurship clinic, so the name, within the name, everybody comes to the clinic. You've got a headache, you were healthy today, but you broke your knee today, or whatever. So businesses come at a different stage to the clinic, and they will get all these services. And, here's this critical business that needs CPR. I don't know what this guy needs, but he needs help. And, but also observing that a lot of businesses fail so much. They fail so much. And how can we really help them? Because that is at that critical stage that Prof from Cape Peninsula spoke about. So why Skhumbuzo says the reasons, because they lack everything. So, and they need support and structure. And I think why he says they lack everything and they must come to the clinic is because, people that work at universities know this. The university is kind of like the place for, we've got so much resources. We've got so much, look at that. As I press, the things we have are going to pop up, We help businesses basically in all aspects and in all their dynamism, whether it has to do with things like financial plans, like tangible things or whatever, accounting. I don't know why. Oh, okay, sorry guys. As I said, I'm representing somebody, but so this slide is much better in representing what I actually thought that one was saying, and it's about where the clinic is placed. Inside the university, you've got the teachers, the entrepreneurs, the mentors, intellectual property, kind of management of it and protection of it, the clinicians. So the clinicians in the context of our Wits Entrepreneurship Clinic are postgrad students of the School of Business Science that basically, they know all this theory, they're expert, and, it also bridges that gap between now the skills that people need are not so much the theory, but they can go out there and actually work with live businesses. And the learning that comes out of there is quite rich because it's practical, it's real life, and they will also learn as postgrad students from the real world, and that will in turn improve their curriculum and such, such a cycle and such a way of learning is really powerful. Then as a university, and especially in the entrepreneurship clinic, we're quite community facing. So of course, our students as supported by the project like the EDI of Richard spoke about it this morning. It supports the students a lot. It supports the academics a lot. But this clinic also is very community facing in that it supports informal businesses around Braamfontein, informal businesses in Soweto. We have a Wits rural campus. It supports that kind of work as well. So we can we are connected with these NGOs, the private sector, government. We can influence policy, and we are forever thankful for especially funding partners, because I'm a fundraiser, and I love Olipa and his and her team. So that's a little bit about the clinic. We launched it officially, so it was it was launched this year on the 20th of May, and has actually achieved quite a bit of a bit of what it has set out to do. It's mentioned here that it's accelerated businesses, but also the incubation part of it that Prof. Michael spoke about is where we also support these businesses, especially, they can come to Tshimologong for the digital aspect of their businesses. They can go to ASIN for the circular economy, sustainability related issues that affect businesses. And these are the pillars, really. There's advisory services, there's training, and there's research. I'm not going to go into the bullet points. And then transformational, I think I covered that in what I have been talking about when I was explaining other things. And then, in speaking to this theme, the successes have been the launch of this clinic in the first place. Those of you who are familiar with WITS will know that one of the best things about WITS is also the WITS Law Clinic. And that's where the law students is community facing. You have a law problem or a legal problem, you come to that clinic, the postgrad students will help you, but it's in real practice. They go to court with you, they do this and that. And it's quite one of our most successful community-facing projects. So to launch this was really great. And then number 2 there, we are creating an online platform for entrepreneurs to reach us from anywhere in the country. So there we go again about us being everywhere. We have put together a clinician program purported to take entrepreneurs from idea to business, so that incubation, it's really supporting entrepreneurs. So if you're an entrepreneur and innovator in the room, you must ask yourself why you are not here. If you're an investor, if you're a funder, you must ask yourself why you're not part of this partnership as well. These pictures are, there's one from our launch in May. Our UK partner, which is the University of Edinburgh, they came with their VC and with their incubator. And in fact, one of the most exciting things we're doing with Edinburgh is, the clinicians and the mentors. So people like Bo, Kosi, and Eleanor and Skumbuzo act as mentors for these clinicians. They're going on an exchange program in Edinburgh because they have such a successful similar support like this. But the real success is that probably, I think it's 85, if not 90% of the businesses that they incubate actually stay and grow. They don't fail, which is the problem with a lot of our businesses. So the retention of those businesses is where they are really successful, and we are looking forward to learning from them. So that partnership is great in that way. This is, they're busy with this, is also still going on, training going on in Soweto with some small businesses there. Yeah. Okay, so these are the partners again. I've said a little bit about the University of Edinburgh, and as Nsigi is saying this, the representatives from the other 2 partners are here. So guys, if you want to say something, because it is the last slide, so.
Thank you, Lebu, and thank you, Nsiki. I was not going to say anything, but listening at the narrative this morning, where we are being invited to get involved and partner with all the programs. So in that context, I think it is important that I say a bit about African Circular Economy Network. We are a NPC registered in South Africa. We've got a representation and operations in 33 out of the 54 countries in Africa, with more than 100 experts in different fields, but our passion is circular economy. And quickly, what is circular economy? Mostly society looks at circular economy and think it's another fancy name for recycling or waste management. Circular economy is a resource management. And what we want to achieve is to create a circular and restorative economy in the continent. And how do we get there? We get there by making sure that we consume and produce differently, and from the speeches today, there are already circular economy principles that are being applied. The example from Central University of Technology, where you use locally available resources to make the wheelchairs, and you make the wheelchairs easily deassembled and fixed. That is circular economy, because by using local materials, you are reducing the emission of greenhouse gases, which talks to the climate program that Prof was talking about. And when you do that, you are then able to create employment locally, and people, they get away from the principle of taking from the environment. You manufacture, you use, you dispose. So that wheelchair, as the owner, without spending money, without going out of your way to get it fixed, you can take it apart, you fix it, and it goes and it lasts forever. Circular economy, it's about keeping materials and resources in circulation for as long as possible. Our involvement in VETS was to share those principles with the entrepreneurs. And in the context of high unemployment rate in South Africa and the continent, we are creating a new economy. Example is, if you do not follow the linear route, there are repair economies that can be created. There are remanufacturing economies that can be created. So any new economy is welcome in a society and the economy like South Africa. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'll be brief. Representing Tshimolohong Digital Innovation Precinct, wholly owned by Wits University. So what we do is, our aim is to create world-leading African digital entrepreneurs. Digital innovation has started impacting many businesses today. It will impact many of the businesses to come. So it's important that when we talk about entrepreneurship, right from idea creation, idea conceptualization of a business, you start thinking of what technology is around you that can enable you to scale your business faster. Where entrepreneurship, the simplistic definition of entrepreneurship is solving a problem. So what problems do we have as a country? What problems do we have as a continent? So we're solving local, but with an eye to scale those solutions continentally and globally. And Tshimolohong exists as a vehicle through our partner VETS, through this program, to say when students are coming up with ideas, some of them will be at ideation phase. We start building in and assisting them, build in, think of artificial intelligence. I know some of you are scared about artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. Some of you only looking at the negative aspects, are we being monitored? But there is so much positive that can come from digital innovation. For example, when you were working from home during lockdown, what was that? That's digital innovation. So it's impacting the world positively. And we want entrepreneurs to start considering that. And that's our role with Wits University. And to say, we're going to use digital innovation to scale. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. Please give them a round of applause. And I'm sure we're all joining the dots and we're seeing connection. And one of the big things that I hope for is that the universities can work together as well and go, oh, this is what we've done. Let's, pollinate these ideas. Let's share these resources and see that shift away from silos. So our last university to showcase today, they weren't able to join us in person, but they do have a video for us, and that is the University of Free State. And I must say that I'm quite happy to see their UK partner was Glasgow Caledonian University, because that's where I did my master's in social innovation. So I was like, oh, look at all these people coming together. So I'm going to ask the team at the back to please play their video on their project titled SACI. Thank you.
The Innovation for African Universities project is a project that seeks to foster the culture of entrepreneurship and innovation across selected markets in sub-Saharan Africa. The second goal of the project is to enable the development of skills that are necessary to develop industries, businesses, services, as well as products.
The CSIR project is supporting youth in social entrepreneurship. It is where we take youth, and in our case it's students, and we network them with an NGO, a non-profit organization, so that they can combine their ideas and their resources to be able to produce a social entrepreneurial ideas and initiative.
The workshops that they've had throughout the whole programme have just been some of the most enjoyable workplace experience I've had, because when you go into these workshops, everybody's interested in achieving the same thing, in having impact, and working with students in looking for ways to apply entrepreneurship to have impact. And that could be huge. For us, it's social impact, but there are other projects involved in the IAU who are different, but there are so many similarities, and learning from the different universities within Africa, within the UK, as well as the ecosystem players and what they're doing, has been very beneficial for us as people, but also for our project as well, to learn, and there are opportunities to develop with these universities, with other partnerships, and it's a really important aim that the IAU have, and I hope that it continues moving forward.
So we have 9 projects in South Africa under the IAU program, and this one at the University of the Free State is focusing on social entrepreneurship, which is a very important area to work in.
As a university, one of the things that we're very keen on is ensuring that the graduates that leave our university have a range of attributes. And some of those attributes include being engaged citizens, individuals who understand who they are, where they are, the need for them to serve society. One of the dilemmas of our continent and this country is the enormous challenges, social challenges, whether it is in the context of unemployment, or whether it is in the context of social problems that are as a consequence of unemployment. And secondly, in addition, we are a youthful population in South Africa, but also on the continent.
The project CSIR, from my perspective, is really about training young people, giving them the opportunity to interface with NGOs, with mission-led organisations, social enterprises, and to bring expertise in enterprise and entrepreneurship with a social mission into some of these organisations that they've had the opportunity to work with.
So we've got similar projects working with students in Europe, also in South Asia, and we've also done similar projects in Latin America and Southeast Asia as well. But what the UFS brings is an understanding of context, and also their involvement in working with students entrepreneurially. And then critically important with Challenges Ghana is the practitioner actually engaging with the entrepreneurial ecosystem on a day-to-day basis.
Let me start first by saying that the British Council has been an unbelievably strong friend of this country and our continent over the many, many decades. Many individuals have benefited from their support in terms of developing them to be able to add value to our continent. As a university, we are also particularly privileged to have had this support and the assistance of the British Council in doing exactly the same thing.
We broke down the workshop into various parts, and then GCU contributed to certain parts, both in terms of the social entrepreneurial mindset and also in terms of soft skills, but so did the University of the Free State and Challenges Ghana as well. So together we created this programme and then delivered it together as well.
Partnerships are very, very important in this process because, first of all, British Council funding the whole process, funding the 24 projects, and then in our project we have 3 partners, main partners. It's the University of the Free State, Glasgow Caledonian University, and Challenges Ghana.
We all brought something very different to the table, and together it created this programme that I think is quite a dynamic programme. It's very flexible, it can be introduced in a lot of different contexts as well. I think because of the short time that we've had to implement, and we were very ambitious in what we were trying to achieve in terms of not only providing some theory and some skills and some tools to the students, but also providing them with the opportunity to apply that learning in a real workplace that are very much embedded in communities.
So basically what we try to do is to provide solutions to problems that bring impact, but then also inculcate within its sustainability from the market and enterprise perspective, SYSE or SISE. It's an initiative that has been initiated by British Council to put together partners from academia, private sector, and then ecosystem enablers to be able to support young people with useful skills in employability and entrepreneurship. Particularly for our case, we are focusing on social entrepreneurship, and this is key because for Challenges Group and by extension Challenges Ghana, we are extremely key when we are extremely focused on things that bring impact to society and impact in the life of young people.
I've just recently started a business, so I just wanted something that could challenge me, something that could teach me more about the business world that is dominated by men since I'm a female. So I just wanted to learn new things and meet different people.
I decided to become part of this CSIR project because I wanted to make a change. I could see that my community needed the help. I thought I was creating an impact for other people, but I didn't know it was going to be impactful in my life. And I found it to be such a big learning experience for me in terms of my schooling, as well as just relating with people. It's past my expectation in that regard.
When I went into it, I had the wish, or not the wish necessarily, but then the desire to learn how I would one day structure my own NGO if I were to actually do it. So that was my motivating factor, like the one reason behind it.
One thing that attracted me to it is that I see that it's about NGOs, and then I already have founded my own foundation back at home. So I saw that opportunity as a platform for me to learn.
Working with 10 NGOs, and it's from a startup that's running for a year to a very vast umbrella NGO that has been working for 120 years.
It's been hugely beneficial, and it sort of all brings back what we've been doing, working internationally between our own offices, what's actually happening on the ground, and what we can take from that and learn from it moving forward.
We have met organisations that work with people with addiction issues. We've seen organisations that work with young children, with daycares, with early learning centres. We've seen agricultural projects. We've been very far out to rural areas. We've also been in some of the townships and more of the urban areas.
When the students came, they brought that energy that allowed us to step our game upwards and explore new ideas.
Selling acha, paraffin, the upcoming ones that are coming that are still on the pipeline are selling eggs, bakery, printing and copying. Yes.
It helps us because we used to have a burden of sometimes we take long because we have to borrow money there and there to buy the gas in order to cook, to buy some spices and all those things. But since this project came, we're working nicely.
Sometimes you tend to think that you being the project initiator and the one who is seeing the figures and all the observations around the world based on research, you know more than them. But you go on the ground and you end up being the one educated.
The social entrepreneurship element was something that caught my attention too, because I knew it was a skill base I don't have. I know that it's a knowledge base that's short and much needed in an environment like this. It came at a time when we needed to understand we need to be self-sustainable. We can't depend on donors. The moment you go into a conversation with students from a different faculty, they ask different questions, and so you're triggered to respond differently and think differently about what the needs are of the shelter.
I knew we're gonna create an impact, right? But I didn't know that it was gonna be impactful in my life. It's one thing to be an entrepreneur, right? So that's me selling, creating, generating an income, right? But for me, social entrepreneurship is where I'm able to bring an impact in the lives of people in and around me. And now I'm thinking more in terms of skills, like what skills can
I learn, what skills can the people around me learn, so that we create a better space, you know, for ourselves. That has brought like I guess a ripple effect where people are also then seeing that, oh, I have that ability within me to create a change in my space and in the community around me.
It was really contagious, the enthusiasm throughout these projects. We started to think about ways of doing sustainable projects, where you can really create something that can create a sustainable income over time. How you can create money without asking people for money. So I think that's a very important shift that came about in the last 3 years in charities. They maybe thought that they're going to be much more hands-on, but the importance of marketing and the importance of being structured in your projects to make sure that you get the best out of it is so important in a charity.
I feel like I've grown a lot since I've started interacting, more especially with ALDA, because we work a lot with ALDA. So it has shaped me in a way that I now feel more ready. Even if there is anxiety in the future of, will my NGO sustain or not, I will know what to do, how to actually fix problems that arise.
This whole experience helped me think, I would say, more maturely about how I go about things, like using the channels that are already existing to make things happen. It was really overall mind-wrecking. You had to think about everything as a big picture. It was really mind-blowing.
Social entrepreneurship has been a light bulb for me. So the way forward, we would hope that we could expand it, and this was only a pilot. The ultimate aim is that the students will start their own social enterprises.
I wish I was young. I wish I was much younger. It's one of the most lasting impressions as anybody who has been in the education system is to be able to see how young people have grown. And today is no different in the sense that where we started with this group of young people and where we are today, it really is night and day.
So for me now, I'm gonna take all the knowledge that I have and try to see how can I take the ideas I've learned from others, the ideas that I've listened from the people from Ghana. They have such an amazing ideas.
When I see things now, I'm already thinking, how can we make this bigger?
So some of them have started exploring opportunities outside of the community and trying to engage other NGOs.
I was over my head. I was the youngest NGO member there, and I was very unprepared for what this was going to turn out to be, and it is huge.
This experience has been life-changing.
A lot of them want to change the world, and this has been quite a good experience, I think, for them, to see that you can change things on a big scale but with small action.
And I think this is really just the start of something that we hope can sort of multiply and be of use.
I think this experience might impact me in terms of, in fact, I feel like it's already impacting me in how I think as it is.
The world is a difficult place and there are lots of challenges going on, and sometimes in my work I feel quite removed from seeing that change happening, and it's always great to see young people because they have a real passion and a real drive.
You know, it's been a lot of work, it's been a lot of hard work, it's been a lot of very fast work, but it's also been extremely enjoyable, extremely rewarding, and just looking forward to seeing what the students and the youth across Ghana and South Africa achieve.
Social entrepreneurship is needed in everyone. You need social entrepreneurship.
And I'm a big believer and a big supporter in social entrepreneurship. When we look at South Africa and the continent and all the social challenges that exist, I think majority of those challenges are things that can be turned into business opportunities and create sustainability. And the end goal of social entrepreneurship being able to move people out of poverty and need and being able to afford life in general, right? So raising that entire pyramid. A big thank you to all of our University IAU network partners from this morning: University of KwaZulu-Natal, Mangosuthu University of Technology, Cape Peninsula University of Technology, Central University of Technology, the Durban University of Technology, the University of the Free State, University of Johannesburg, and University of Witwatersrand, and to the University of Stellenbosch in absentia. You are doing such phenomenal work. Please give them all a round of applause. So we're getting ready for our panel discussion, but I want you to be ready and focused for our panel discussion. So we're just going to ask that we do a quick body break, so a quick 5-minute stretch. There's tea in the lobby, so if you want to grab a quick refreshment, you can. But I can also ask that you think about your questions so that when we get into our panel discussion, we can fire away. As well as for the people joining us online, if you have any questions, please submit them through and we can put those through to our panel. And then a quick reminder as well to please give your suggestions. So go to the registration table and tell us what you think we can do better on one of these, or just share your thoughts with us on one of those. We would like to hear from you. So if you can all please be back in the room and seated by 1:15 so that we can start our panel discussion. Thank you. So welcome back. We are continuing with our IAU showcase and knowledge dissemination. And we are going into the last part of today, which is going to be our panel discussion. And I want to say thank you very much to all of our panelists for making the time to be with us today. And I'm not going to read your full bios in the interest of time, but I think most of our panelists are people that you know because we asked the network partners who you would like to hear from, and these are some of the names that came through. So our first, as the panelists come up, can I please just ask you to fill up from the second chair and then go that way? So our first panelist is Risuna Maluleke. He is the youth development devotee with a specific focus in entrepreneurship and education, and he is the Chief Entrepreneurship Officer of the Young African Entrepreneurs Institute and Managing Director of Youth Village Africa. He also serves on as an executive chairman of EdTech Solutions and a non-executive board member of the Field Band Foundation, and he has held many past positions for small businesses, student development, and has served on several boards. And in addition, he has also served as part of the community of practice for EDI. So welcome to Risuna. Joining him is Jesse Naidu. Jesse is an award-winning social entrepreneur with a passion for people, the planet, and out-of-the-box solutions, which you'll hear comes from his engineering brain. He holds a master's in business leadership from the School of Business Leadership, UNISA, and he also started Clothes to Good, which is a multi-award-winning clothing recycling company that creates jobs, starts micro businesses, and empowers the unemployed, including people living with disabilities. And I think we'll get some interesting insights from him. And then a familiar face to the stage, please welcome Dr. Tia van der Westhuizen. She is from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. She's an academic leader and lecturer as well for management and entrepreneurship discipline. She's a senior lecturer and SFTP program manager and academic graduate school and business leadership. She's also part of the COP, was it Learning and Development? Yeah, the COP for Learning and Teaching at EDI, so please give her a round of applause. And then our final, yes, give her a round of applause, please. And our final panelist joining us is Chitso Mosolodi. He is the director of Snake Nation, a disruptive culture, content, and technology company based in Atlanta and in Cape Town, South Africa, for creative rebels in field, music, art, fashion, gaming, and technology. So for all the young people who are like, yeah, this has been great, but where are my creatives at? This is your creative, right? Snake Nation is a platform that helps multicultural millennials creators build an audience, distribute their products, and monetize their work via Snake Nation's VNM Venom crypto token, allowing Africans to own their narrative in the global creative economy. Their company has won several awards, and he's also currently working with the All African Student Union in rolling out student empowerment clubs and student societies across 2,800 universities in Africa. That's fantastic. Please give them all a round of applause. I'm just going to ask that I suppose the three of you down there can share a mic, and then Risuna and I can share a mic.
Test?
Yeah, all the mics are good. Okay, so welcome. Thank you so much for... Are we comfortable? I feel like I'm looking over people to see everybody. Are we good? Is this... Are we happy with the setup? Okay, fabulous. So I think I really... And also, we will open up the floor to conversations to everybody. So just a quick instruction on that. The black thing in front of you, it has a microphone, so you just lift the microphone at the back, and then you press the green button, and we'll be able to hear your question. It's like being at the UN, you know? Yeah. Or Parliament, you know, whatever it is. Here we are, change makers in the room, you know, discussing things together. Okay, so I want to start with, the conversation of what we're looking at today is really to say that how do we ensure that we're bolstering the ecosystem as we continue to support African universities at the forefront of innovation and entrepreneurship? And I think most of you have been here throughout the day. So if you can maybe just share with us from the perspective of the work that you're doing and how you think that can link up to the universities and some of the key things we should be focused on as it pertains to how do we make sure this ecosystem actually works. So I see Chito is nodding very well there at the end. So I'll start with you, and maybe we'll pass it down this way.
Okay, thank you, Ausi. I think just looking at the stuff that we've been doing with the BIIC, we know that the best way of rolling out programs in universities, you basically need to use a bottom-up approach. Most active structures are your political organization and religious structures, which are fully run by university students. And we've also seen with a couple of other programs that the universities have been trying to push. Lecture rooms are empty, you know, and they are just struggling to get the numbers. But the moment you start flipping around things, and then you basically get the students to be the ones in the forefront of pushing those initiatives, you'll start getting the numbers. And that's what we've been doing at the BIIC. It's basically finding the best way of linking that bottom-up structure with having your top down. And I think that's what Prof. Darko must start with the BIIC project.
Tia, could you add to that? And I think maybe also just highlight, you know, being on the ground, working with the students, some of the practical challenges that doesn't really make that work, or that does
Is there a different approach that I can take to the answer on ecosystem?
Yes.
Because I want to break the terminology down to its etymology on what it means. So the ecosystem is a Greek word. And from Greek, ecosystem literally means it's from biology. So it's a grouping of living and breathing things. And social sciences took over this term. So we personified this thing from biology, and that is what we're busy with. Now, in a biological or the ancient Greek ecosystem, the thing that live, that thing that pump and make it live, is the heart. Our heart and our internal organs. And if we link that to our entrepreneurial ecosystems and the way how we breathe and group ourselves together and form our system, that thing that binds us together, our projects here together, our ecosystems together, and through the British Council, this Unite to Grow is literally blowing life and inspiration into this ecosystem. And we did say, when we start to transform it through higher education, stop teaching, start inspiring. From what we are doing, the very core of the terminology ecosystem says, get that heartbeat going, get that inspiration going. And what we are busy now is bringing life to this personified entrepreneurial ecosystem. And yes, we've got our challenges, but we are moving in a way from classical education to where all of us, I mean, I felt so inspired listening to our colleagues and what we are doing. We are inspiring each other. We are creating life in our entrepreneurial ecosystems. So challenges here. Our starting point, I think, is hitting the heart set. We are hitting the entrepreneurial heart set of the ecosystem. And that etymologies, let me go back to my language, is hitting it on the spot. So I'm hearing you and I'm hearing the colleagues, and I think the British Council created a phenomenal opportunity to put the heart back into the ecosystem.
Jesse, I'm interested in your perspective because you've worked with universities, you've also received funding from different organizations. So I think across the board, you cut into a lot of sectors that are represented here today. You know, so how do you see the ecosystem thing playing out?
Okay, so the first thing is that it was initially very challenging because I think all of us grew up in shareholder value. We've been indoctrinated in a certain way of thinking. We have this value cycle approach. There's a start and an end. And I think that the type of work we do in closing the loop is a totally different business model, right? It is not shareholder value. It's New Capitalist Manifesto where we actually creating a value cycle, a circular economy. So we don't even use the word value chain anymore. We use the word value cycle. And coming back to your ecosystem, because it's a living and a being. So when we, one of our big challenges as a clothing recycling organization for the fashion industry, so the types of brands we work with is Nike, Levi's, H&M, Tommy Hilfiger, CK, all the ones you know and love. And one of our biggest challenges is about 10% of our waste is denim. So we put it out there and said, guys, how are we going to solve this? How are we going to solve this problem? You know, because we're gathering more and more of it. And in this value cycle thinking of not own and control, but rather how do we move to a business model where we're not trying to do the most with the least or just trying to work together, we were pleasantly surprised because we do have the knowledge and the skills in this country. We did put all the hard work in the different verticals that each university does. So to give you a practical example, we have literally thousands of children in our country, if not more, and adults that either are affected by autism, ADHD, or anxiety. I would argue half of our country is in anxiety, right? So we have tons of denim that we get in many tons every single month. We put it out there. The University of Pretoria, fashion design students, Tommy Hilfigers themselves, Levi's in South Africa, H&M, who allows you to recycle your denim in any store in the country, helped us. So did UKZN's Advanced Textile Laboratories team, because one of the biggest costs of getting the weight in a denim weighted blanket is glass, crushed glass. So the team from UKZN figured out how in a crushing machine that's crushing millions of tons of glass can round that glass and bring the cost of glass from 50 Rand a kg to 5 Rand a kg. So that millions of people in the future can have the advantage of a weighted blanket, a weighted vest, or a weighted toy and deal with their issues in their own country. So that's just an example of some of the wonderful things that are sitting here. It's just a matter of us just putting our egos down and working together.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that point, because one of the things that came out in the discussion earlier on is how do we utilize the research that's coming out of universities so that it translates easily into creating products and services. So how Clothes to Good has been able to tap into research and development happening at universities, I think is an eye-opener. Risen, I want to come to you from an accelerator perspective. You know, how do you see us playing together better in the ecosystem and some of the things that need to change?
Okay, thank you. As introduced, my name is Rasula Malek. I think it's easier actually to speak last, you know, when there's a question, because you just have to say, I agree with everyone, you know, and then you just like leave it at that, you know. Yeah. So but what I just want to say is that, you know, in agreement with, you know, the colleagues here, is that for you to understand the ecosystem, you understand, you know, it from a geography perspective and science, as you're saying, that it's a geographic location, you know, when you're speaking about science, biology, where all these organisms then, like, you know, get to live together, you know, feed on one another and so on. Then when you come to a university space, then you now need to understand the university as the geographic location, where now who are the key people and who are the key players for you to be able to now bring all these people together in order for you to have an effective, you know, approach to driving innovation and so on. As my brother said there, and that we need to understand who's the key stakeholder within the university, the students, you know, all these programs that we are doing them for the students. And on the other hand, because the university is driven by learning, teaching, you know, and research and so on, then you need to understand the fundamental reason why the university space actually exists, you know. So we then drive our innovation then from that, and how then do we leverage on other existing parties where you find, like, you know, the supporting structures such as student affairs, you know, student development programs and so on. Then from an acceleration point of view, I think what then needs to happen, because I've heard all the presentations that, you know, the colleagues were making here, what then we need to look at is how do we now start looking into private and public sector, you know, partnerships that are then going to enable this kind of growth that we're looking into. And then that is also development of programs, as Prof is saying, that we should stop just, like, you know, teaching things and start inspiring. And how do you inspire? Then you need to then borrow from those who are actually working on these things, who are doing these things, and you bring them onto campus. For those that are learning about those things, to leverage on experience, and when you bring those two together, you're then going to have a formidable, you know, combination, so that we see now entrepreneurship education, moving from just educational skills, now being translated into new venture creation, and we get to see also commercialization of research, because you need to understand that on the other hand, we have entrepreneurial universities driving commercialization, utilizing facilities within university to say, how do we generate an income from this? But on the other hand, what we need to see now, it's entrepreneurial students or graduates. And when we get to see those, it then means that we need entrepreneurial professionals, and then we need also new venture creation in the sense of those who pursue entrepreneurship as a post-graduate kind of a career, just like you are doing now, Ntsiki. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those inputs. And I think some of the key things that you can keep the mic, because I'm going to ask you another question now. So that key thing, so I think oftentimes when we look at entrepreneurship, we don't really qualify the kinds of entrepreneurs that we look at, right? So we can say there's a lot of entrepreneurs, but a lot of them might be survival entrepreneurs. So when you talk about the types of entrepreneurs that can come in and drive innovation and so forth, is there an adequate enough match at the moment between what accelerators are looking for and can kind of help scale up, and what is actually coming through into the accelerator space? And how do universities, I suppose, begin to make sure that you're receiving the kinds of entrepreneurs that you can then support and scale up their businesses?
Okay, so now when you speak about the types of entrepreneurs, so here's the thing, okay, as you say that survivalists, and all those kind of things. I think what is more important, the biggest question, if you are to find someone who's selling tomatoes because, they did not get a job and then now they just want to survive and so on. Or maybe find a student on campus who's washing shoes for someone, just because they want to get by the month and all those kind of things. And when you find that particular person, what then you need to do is, how do you then create an enabling environment for that particular person such that when they transition out of university, this thing does not just die out. It does not become just like, by the way, when I was at university and so on. Because that is the lowest hanging fruit. Already, if I find you selling tomatoes, if I find you there's one student who's selling eggs, at VETS, we offer our seed program to different universities as the Young African Entrepreneurs Institute. So VETS is one of our, partners or clients, if I should put it like that. He's selling eggs. But now when he came into the program, now he's actually seeing that instead of him now actually going around to sell these eggs, he knows who the supplier is. He can now start giving the eggs to the students to now start selling, and they are making an income. Then he becomes a middleman in a sense. And in the future, then he becomes a supplier of the eggs. And as he grows, then he becomes a person who now trains people now on how to produce eggs and so on. That is how we just need to think about it in terms of when we are setting up a pipeline, what is our end goal? Because we cannot start all this work and initiatives that we're trying to do just without understanding what is the end objective or what is the end goal. We need to understand that before we even speak about acceleration. What are we looking at from entrepreneurial development, of the mindset, and then now going into these guys either going for new venture creation, and then others now taking into professionals and so on. So in terms of whether we are ready for that or the pipeline that comes through, I think what is more important is the universities need to take it from a basic level where we create an enabling environment where people can think without any cost to them. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yes.
As we are doing a panel discussion, I almost feel a level of concern when we right. So our need of our work and the basic and the entry level, and then we are here in the higher education space. My background, 10 years of work in the Middle East. I saw a place called Ruwais. In a space of 10 years, went from a settlement to a city. Ruwais got the world's first drive-in McDonald's in the desert, right? When we worked with the youth on that side, they came up with 2 billion plus project plans. For example, a factory turning green carbon black. I feel there's a desperate need for high-end social innovation. And if you take counterparts in age groups, the level of innovation and the level of social innovation. So let's say if we raise, as educators, youth, that when they start their business, let's say our eggs and our farmings and our car washes, but the same age group counterpart in the Northern Hemisphere come up with a $2 billion factory to turn green carbon black and move a settlement to a city, what is happening to our value-added national economy and the level of our social innovation? So we're in the dichotomy of upskilling from basic, but also phenomenally a need of high impact, thought generative, to come up with high-end social innovation. So to accelerate that, I don't know. How can we accelerate high-impact social innovation, breed that minds right here that can come up with thought to build a $2 billion, to create thought to build a $2 billion factory?
Sure.
And please, from the floor,
Yeah.
we need not only to look at the entry level, high impact. That is our country's competition.
Yeah, and I think just to add before he can take off, I think what is more important as well, Nsiki, that we need to look at is that we cannot have the high end and high impact without understanding context. I think context is supposed to be where we start from, because when you say high end in Limpopo, in Guyana, the village that I come from, is different to high end in Johannesburg, where I now reside. Then now, how do we get students across the board to understand innovation within their own context so that they come up with this high impact that we're speaking about? For example, within a contextual perspective, innovation within, like, the area and the township that, and the village that I come from, they could now be thinking about, how do I turn tires into chairs where people can sit, creating garden chairs and all those kind of things. But on the other end, when you come to Johannesburg, perhaps people now are thinking of, how do I create a table or a desk which can be folded by a remote and all those kind of things. So it is both high end depending on where you are sitting from. So I think where we need to start tackling this matter is, when we are teaching innovation and driving innovation, how do we ensure that the people that we are engaging with are understanding the context that is Afrocentric one, technology-driven, and taking into consideration the green economy as it rises.
That is putting it together well.
Yeah.
I agree. Research that we've done, because I couldn't understand, if we work so long and so hard in the higher education space, why after stop teaching, start inspiring? And I think if we really need to reflect at our universities, to come up with that innovations is hard. Why? And what you just said, it takes a long time to innovate self.
Yeah.
And self as the core of the ecosystem.
Cool. So I'd like to bring Jesse and Chito in over here. So Jesse, from your side is the fact that 2011 you thought about Clothes to Good, and I think for the better part that you've been operating, it's been trying to get people to understand the level of innovation, right? So I think that's one aspect of how do we overcome where everybody else is. And on the far end, so you guys have crypto, right? And I think people just are still grappling with what that is, right? So when you also think about innovation and where that innovation is applicable, and if the whole continent is moving in that direction, how do we then bring that down to the ground so that a young person in Guyana can go, yes, we're going to use crypto to trade our avos on Mango, and this is how it's going to work. So yeah, if both of you can contribute, Jesse, I'll start with you.
Well, I think when you're in university or in academia and so on, there's a lot of research and development complexity. But when you're in the real entrepreneurial world, as a leader, your main task is to simplify, right, to a point that more people can participate. And
simplify.
So simplify, because true leadership is how do you simplify the complexity so that more people can participate. So I think in a sense is that when we grew up, and I grew up in engineering and business management, it's like these complex theories and complex documents and complex models, and but that's just so that you can learn the subject, right? And I think when we get into the real world, we think we have to build all these complex things. But in the reality is you as a leader has to simplify the complexity so that I can have a person in your town making paving blocks out of for a 30% shoe waste to solve our South African problem. and put in pavers for schools that need them. But how do you simplify the model so that they can participate, right? And I think that is what we have to do in line with teaching engineers, teaching doctors, teaching whoever business leaders on how that is such an important part of your responsibility, right? And in allowing participation.
I think just unpacking the blockchain line and how we ended up pushing a utility coin. So we've got these different societies that we're running in different universities.
It's okay. Opa!
I hope you're good. So, yeah, so we've got these different societies, and then with the utility coin, we basically now started allowing students to attend events and Venom and utilize that Venom on campus. So, and again, there's like two things that we're trying to solve. We're trying to push student startups on campus that are accepting this currency. And then on the other side, we're basically trying to push these guys to push more businesses and to get more students active in the programs that we're running on campus. Why attend A if you can attend B and N? Tokens that you can utilize to get your cakes washed on campus, nails done, makeup, and a whole lot of other things that we're pushing with CPUT. To the point where now we're taking this thing to the next level with the BIIC, where we're starting now to integrate payment protocols on campus that really allow students to start undicing and understanding what blockchain is and what interledger is. And these are new technologies. And then we then took it further to pushing your students that are doing graphic design to start understanding what NFT is and how they can basically utilize that. And so the society, I just want to circle back on the importance of pushing these societies on campus. CPUT, you've got your graphic design students doing their final year that have never heard of NFTs before. And this is scary, you know. So your tech clubs that are sitting under BIIC, they are basically now trying to push new technology to students, again, bottom up, just making sure that the guys on the ground, they understand the technology and they know how they can interact and start taking advantage of what's available, and which is definitely something that they're not getting in class.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to two key things that came up today, which was collaboration and co-creation. So what is required should match what we are teaching, and then equally going, what are the needs, right? And I think that was in I think it was Thibault's presentation to say that have we gone out to ask, you know, what is the need, and are we creating to respond and to meet that particular need? I know Tia wants to say something, but I want to open up. Okay, no, that's fine. So I want to open up to the floor. I know there's a question here, and then the gentleman there at the back, and over here. So I'll start. Okay, let me take those first three hands. Is your hand still up, or did you? Me. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with you.
Yeah. So I mean, in working with students, one of the things that we have to understand is if they have not experienced it, how will they know it? And to what extent do we actually engage students in these authentic types of contexts where there is this high innovation, where there is high expectations of self as well. Because I think for many students, they come from a setting where I'll do the minimum because it's all okay. At the same time, how do we enhance all of that? And I'm speaking from experience of taking our students on field trips to... Oh, Mike. I thought my teacher voice was better. Anyway.
The people at home also need to hear you, sorry.
Okay. So it's about the authentic context and the students experiencing it. So we take our students to an NGO, 1,000 Hills Community Helpers, which is such a wonderful social, entrepreneurial type of setting. And the students go there and they say, what? How can this be in the middle of nowhere? It's like a mind-blowing type of experience. And they come back and it's, we've got to do better. So that whole aspect of self, we've got to take our students out of where they are into different spaces, see the world, and come back.
Completely agree. Can you just put your mic on and then ask your question? I believe it's the green button. Yeah, there you go.
All right, awesome. No, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. And yeah, thank you to our panelists and our host. Yeah, I just wanted to touch base quickly on the point that which the lady raised earlier on the issue on innovation in our country. Good, why is that we are not focused in terms of your multi-million, multi-dollar projects and stuff. I think it is more difficult actually to think about innovation when one actually does business from an empty stomach. Many of what we call of our entrepreneurs in the townships, besides those that which you are trying to introduce into entrepreneurship at varsity level, because majority of the youth actually are not at that at varsity level. And many of those that which are trying to make ends meet, that level of creativeness that which you are inspiring the youth at varsity level, they are not so privileged to experience that. I think the conversation should be, before we can speak about, I know that there's a language, the language that which is going around currently, the fourth industrial revolution. It is so unfortunate that majority of the population in this country, besides even the youth, has not fully grasped even, some of the innovations that came up with the third industrial revolution, because they are not even participating in that. One of the reasons it can be due to issues of what we call of data. They don't have access into internet, and many other factors that which I can mention. So I'm very much passionate about entrepreneurship. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I've done community work since 2010. I started my entrepreneurship journey from 2016. So my thinking from then and to now, since that I've tasted a bit of money, it's quite different. I can think about innovation now. I can think about such projects, but I'm thinking about those entrepreneurs that which were at that level where I was at about 8 years ago, with no source of income, with basically only the opportunity. I grew up in a mining area. My only opportunities there that I saw as means of making money was participating within the mining space. That was the only thing, and I was not thinking about, in as much as maybe I had a bit of education, and my main concern are those young people that which have not make it out of what you call into varsity or even into college. And I think we should find ways and solutions in which we are going to integrate them to make sure that when we start conversations around the fourth industrial revolution, at least there are systems in place and there are programs in place to assist them, that when we begin the conversations around innovation, even renewable energy, to say. I was in the conference in Sentin.
Can I pause you there, just because we have other questions
okay,
in the room
yes.
as well? But
my apologies.
Yeah, but that was clear. Thank you very much.
Thank
and then you were the third hand, and then we'll come back to the panel and then go back to the room.
Yes, good afternoon. I'll be straight to the point. I hear my brother over there, but I want to stick to the script. I think the panel was supposed to look at how can universities drive innovation and entrepreneurship. At VETS, our partner, University of Edinburgh, they actually challenge us. They said every year they commercialize more than 100 businesses. And the creation or the birth of unicorns in the last 10 years, there is quite a number. So my even challenge, not just to the panelists, but to even people here, including the academics, in South Africa, is it 26 universities?
26 across the continent, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I'm talking South Africa, yes.
Yeah, in South Africa. How many unicorns have been born out of South African universities in the last decade? Because if we want to talk about economic growth, we're talking about high impact businesses, high growth businesses. Those are the businesses that are going to create the much needed jobs. So while there is space for the microeconomy and the supporting of micro enterprises, there is space for that. But the people who will create jobs for other people are personally, I believe, are the universities. If you look at, you go, the country that has produced the most universities is the USA. Where are those businesses born? They are born at universities. Yeah. So universities are centers of knowledge. And that knowledge then has to be commercialized. So now, my last point is then, what are the universities doing to incentivize students to move into entrepreneurship? One of the presentations from Cape Peninsula, they say you had 8 businesses. He's left 3. Some of them, where are they now? They have been lost to jobs. Why? Because there is no incentives. There is no funding or a funder that funds them to grow these enterprises that can create the necessary jobs. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Dr. Tia, I'll leave you to respond to that. And maybe, I don't know if you want to add in anything around the current policies that exist at university that help or don't help fast-track commercialization. But before you respond, we'll start with the response from Rasuna to the gentleman at the back.
Okay, so just just give a quick overview on to what they've spoken to. Yeah. So I think starting from the lady here in green, I think the most important thing is culture. If we want to enhance that mindset, entrepreneurial mindset, means that universities should create a culture, of entrepreneurship. It can be market days where students come sell, whatever the case may be, but we need to start thinking about activities that then breed the entrepreneurial culture. But now, to the question of, it's difficult to innovate, because guys are hungry and so on. I think there's a difference between innovation and now translating innovation into entrepreneurial ventures. I think the best innovation actually comes out of adversity because you don't have any other tools, and that's why you have to innovate, When you grow up in the villages, everyone who comes from a better family has a toy car and all those kind of things. But if you're not coming from an advantaged family, you have to make your own toy car with steel and so on. So innovation actually is born out of adversity. But what then is important that we need to think about in terms of bridging the gap that you're speaking to is now the question of how do we create an enabling environment for innovation then now to be translated into entrepreneurial ventures. Back to basics, Schumpeter. That's where we need to start from. And then now, in the last part, in terms of, the universities playing a role in terms of, incentivizing and so on, back to the basics as well. As I said at the beginning, in order for us to understand what a university can and cannot do, is to understand the university as that particular ecosystem, or rather the geographic location. And now, does the university have resources in order for them to incentivize people to do that? And then now, where does it lead us to? It then leads us to saying, what are the public and private partnerships that we need to establish as universities create an enabling environment? Perhaps CIFA on the other side is coming onto the party and creating funding opportunities for these guys that are coming up with the innovations. So it's more about when we say an ecosystem, when we say we're growing this ecosystem, we don't need to think about the ecosystem within the confinements of a university setting, but we need to think of who else is actually contributing to this particular work that we are doing. And by that way, we'll drive innovation, and as a result, entrepreneurial ventures then are going to be established and jobs are going to be created. That's high impact venture creation for measurable socioeconomic impact. Thank you.
Do any of you have a comment? Yeah?
Yeah. Can I speak now?
Yes, you can.
Great. Colleagues, I think the rule is, if it was easy, then everybody will be doing it. If it was easy, then everybody would be doing it. There isn't a 10-point plan we can disseminate right now to say this is the roadmap to success, because it's not easy. Everybody can't do it. But to come to to the questions around here, and excuse me if I use my hands a lot. The movement is to go from reactive to generative thought. So what is that thing neurologically that I can change within me to spark thought from where I react to something to where I generate something? Now, when I move my thought from reaction to generation in the middle, that thought shift, mind shift, heart shift, is you can measure it. 68 EEG gamma hertz. That you know that feeling when you feel, ooh, nice. That is actually a thrill of inspiration, but it can also be classified as a thrill of innovation. Right. So now we need to move our ecosystems and higher ed and our students together. So let's say we put our student entrepreneur in the center and we classify that as youth. And youth categorically, age 18 to 35. So youth entrepreneur in the middle. And we work with two types of domains. So we got the internal domains, which relates to your psychology or your neurology, and they take it further, psycho-neuro-endocrinology. The combination of your physiology, your neurology, and your psychology, which means that you need to literally work everything in yourself together to come up with new thought, which means working in silos, social sciences, engineering, we cannot do it anymore at universities. We need to have that interdisciplinariness, because if we want to generate thoughts from deep within, it's clinically proven there's a deeper shift that needs to take place. So now we've got the internal domain of the student entrepreneur in relation to the external domain. So let's say government agencies. We need to think systems here, right? Mundo systems, where we've got the British Council, macro systems, which is national government, meso systems on the regional level, micro system, which we can call our institutes and organizations. So government agencies, private sector organization agencies, that would be your Chamber of Commerce, other entrepreneurs, communities, large corporations, and then internationalization. So there's 8 elements that will need to work together to support this youth entrepreneur, student entrepreneur 18 to 35, to move from reactive to generative thought, shifting, literally shifting the headspace. So Otto Scharmer is saying, and that is linking to what Jesse was saying, we need to put our egos aside and start working. Sharma's book is called...
Sorry, Dr. Sia, can I just also ask, because I know Jesse has another comment, and there's 3 other hands in the audience.
Ego to eco. And,
like that.
And once there's a shift from ego to eco, within this, maybe we're one step closer to find a way to say, it's not easy, but maybe we can.
It can be done. Yes, Jess.
Just a quick comment on the 2 last responses. So, with my experience, I'm not an academic. We're entrepreneurs working with University of Pretoria, because they have an integrated system where the students have to do exponential learning as part of their qualifications. 200 hours is an incentive in itself, yes. And we as a business is allowing that and not charging that, because we're also getting a benefit from it, is practical, right? So I think if a university is not doing that, they're already doing a disjustice to the student, yes? Coming back to your comment, I agree with you 100%. So why have I got an engineer from KZN working with fashion design students in Pretoria, but they're not working with the engineering division in their own university? That's a question I have for you. Why, when are those egos going to break? Or I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but when are those verticals going to be broken? Because the real world is an ecosystem. It's not a vertical.
And again, I'm just not selling BIIC, but what BIIC has mastered, it's pipeline. And I think we've seen that with a whole lot of incubation programs. They are struggling with pipeline. university incubators themselves, they're struggling with pipeline, simply because students, they don't even know that those services exist on campus. You've got your TIA, which is sitting with more than 15 tech stations in universities, and students, they don't even know about TIA tech stations, you know. So as much as Standard Bank will go out to get an agency that will market and push their services, universities, they need that, you know. They basically need people who understand students to start selling services that are sitting on their premises, you know. We've got a very active student here, Blessing. So Blessing, I think now he's doing his honors. He'll be doing his honors in electrical engineering. Very active student. So I took a trip around campus, visiting tech stations on campus. 4 years down the line, he has never heard of those tech stations. He doesn't even know how they work. So those are some of the things that you get. You've got Wits University students, they see Tshimologong, but they don't even know what Tshimologong is all about. You know, so I think once we bridge that gap, then you'll start seeing students being active and participating in these activities. It's that easy.
I think just, you know, on the final one, just like, you know, wrapping up on this, I think what is more important is everyone should know what they're supposed to do in terms of the university space. You can't expect academics to be running enterprise development, you understand? Academics need to focus on whatever they need to focus on as far as entrepreneurship development is concerned. And then get those who know what enterprise development is about to focus on that, because we want, at the end of the day, how do all these people then work together to ensure that we reach one goal, which is high impact innovations and entrepreneurial ventures. And don't be apologetic, you have to sell your business. It's a good platform.
I love it, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to do a last round of questions. I'm just mindful. So we've got the lady in white over there, the gentleman in black over there, and the gentleman in green. Oh my goodness, there's so many hands. So let's do those three. A sentence, like a very quick sentence. So we'll start with, yes, the lady over here.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to comment on the red tape that there is in universities when it comes to things like this. Like, we come to places like this and they tell us we can do this and this and this, but as soon as you get there, there's so much red tape. And I also think in terms of the course content that the universities offer, they need to start with the basic things, because maybe when you're like 24, you're just only registering your business now. When you go to the bank and you say, oh, I need a loan and stuff like that, they tell you, no, your business should be registered for like 4 to 5 years. So I think the course content is very important, because they teach us some other things, but they don't teach us a lot of things that have to do with compliance.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard for you to get anywhere or to another step if you're not compliant for anything. So I think they should focus on that too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Gentleman in the black.
All right, I'm Blessing, the guy I was talking about. All right, my question actually is to what she was saying. So the project that
And I also just ask you to make it concise. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
The project that actually enabled me to be here today, I was told by my supervisor who was giving me that class that I'm too ambitious. So, sorry to circle back to the ecosystem portion. It doesn't only involve students, it also involves the lecturers. So if the lecturers don't push this initiative of creating an entrepreneurial ecosystem, because it can't be an entrepreneurial ecosystem if it's only students who are becoming entrepreneurs and there's only one person who is pushing it. So how can you change the mindset of lecturers to also push the initiative? And also, I did my honors. I only started learning about entrepreneurship in honors level. And yeah, okay. That's
Thank you for circling back to ecosystem, because that is what this conversation is about. Gentleman in the green.
Yeah, hi, so good afternoon, everyone. So I just want to echo on the gentleman's sentiment and this lady here about the red tapes and the privileges, you know.
Is it a new question? Because if it's echoing, can I just take somebody else's question?
No, it's just a statement and then a question.
Can I ask you to ask your question?
Okay, let me just go to the question. Yeah, I just want to know, like, what can be done at the university level to make sure that there's a bridge of a gap between informal economy and the formal economy, so that we make sure that there's deregulations, removal of red tapes that are like hindering entrepreneurs to actually get into the space of expressing their innovations and everything. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Then I'll ask the gentleman behind you.
Good afternoon. Yeah. Okay, my question is, how do we provide support to students who have ideas but are not able to come forward with the ideas? There are students who overthink. They're already thinking of reasons as to
Why
failure and stuff like that. So how do we accommodate those students and have them come forward and actually share their ideas and actually develop something?
Cool. Thank you so much. Dr. Thea, can I come to you first about the red tape issue, because you are at a university. So if you can respond to the comment around the red tape and the comment on teaching entrepreneurship earlier, so that someone's not just hearing about the concept by the time they're ready to graduate. On the microphone.
I was deep in thought looking at our project manager, Lindsay, sitting there, just cracking a big smile, because that's the story of her day. Red tape. I'm 23 years in higher education. It's been a problem then. It's a problem now. Issue is we work in a bureaucracy and we work with public funds. And we keep on having these conversations. And at the end of the day, when we walk out of this and we say, we need less tape, there's a next management meeting to say, let's put these new control processes in place. So this is many decades. The thing that we always encourage is the levels within the university. So where you experience the red tape, can the colleagues that put up their hands on the red tape, I just want to look at you. Never think where you are that you will not be welcome at your DVC's or Vice Chancellor's office. Take your things to your DVC. Richard spoke this morning on national level and entrepreneurial universities that needs to be created. So national mandate is to make entrepreneurial universities make it accessible. We need to have those difficult conversations with our leadership and say, but this and this and this and this, it really makes me difficult for me. We all work towards national mandate, but I cannot do my job because this red tape is hindering to do my job. We want to align to national vision. Go and have that go and have that difficult conversations. And the responsibility is on each of us to speak to our line managers, take it up into the next management, higher up, to continue with raised awareness. And if we don't say, it's too much, and come up with a different solution in your space, tailor to your space, how are they going to change it? Go and have the difficult conversations.
And in the learning, and I know that's one of the things that you guys were looking at in terms of the curriculum, is that a red tape thing to also then start teaching the things that actually matter when you're running a business earlier versus when you're close to graduating, and across industries as well, right? So it shouldn't just be the entrepreneurship or business management students, but those studying medicine.
We need to confuse the different types of red tape. So there's the red tape within the higher education space, and then the higher education work with public funds. And then we need to think of projects like this, which is also public funded, but it's a third stream income to the university, also with some red tape. And then we need to think, right, am I starting my business self-funded or in partnership with somebody, and then sources of funding? And you really need to go and sit and draw your business model canvas and think, okay, where's my revenue streams? And then the red tape to it. If I'm going to ask Jesse for funds, maybe he's going to take out $10 and give it to me. Easy. If I'm going to ask Ulepa, give me that 10 rand, it might come in my bank account end of next month because of all the paperwork. So identify the revenue sources and then the red tape, and then perhaps categorize, Shoo, it's difficult to get revenue streams from here, red tape, easier, and so on. Yeah. Angela looked like she really wants to say something.
Creativity amongst our academia.
Yes. Creativity amongst academia was the comment there. So I think Jesse has his hand up to respond as well, but she'd also like to bring you in on this because I know you work with creatives and kind of going on the gentleman's question on how do we get people to come forward with their ideas. I don't know if you guys have any experience in that space as well, where someone goes, I think this is great, but maybe not for me, or I'm not good enough? Jesse?
So I think, firstly, we have to be in the reality that we are not a diamond economy. So if there's universities overseas that are doing thousands of enterprises out of their university, if I was in the US and I was a social entrepreneur, they'll give me $1 million to start it, even if the university came up with a good idea, right? But I think in South Africa, we are a obtuse triangle, right? Let's face the reality. Let's not be silly. So if you want a multinational organization to fund your project, you as a university must be able to have the innovation in managerial finance, the work in technology, the work in design, and make sure that your entire faculties are working together as a business that can get that funding. Because me as a business and entrepreneur will give you the money if you're capable of doing it yourself. And you'll get the money because there is an abundance of money. But then you need to be capable to deliver the goods and think like an entrepreneur as a university. And that's my 2 cents worth here.
Thank you. So again, some of the programs that we did at CPUT to pull students, to some of the events, it's really running things like your game nights, your movie nights, poetry sessions, and all those things that that they're going to pull big numbers. And then we start using those programs to start promoting our BIIC programs, and we had like a massive success. And again, we started with just a clean pushing entrepreneurship on campuses from 2015. The moment you start introducing your creative societies mixed, like baked into that, our numbers started pushing up. And again, just the clean entrepreneurship, it's boring. It's like you won't get numbers, But the moment you start meeting students where they are, speaking their language, and then you will start seeing numbers. And those are some of the things that we've been doing at BIIC, but we basically scaling that program, technopreneurship, across 2,800 universities in the continent, and then with a massive demand from your HBCUs. Again, there's something that we're doing right at BIIC, and hence there's a demand. Thank you.
And with that, I'm also hoping you're including the lectures as well. So that when the students go, hey, I'm building this business, the lecturer's like, yes, you can do it. Colleagues, we are running over time, but I just want to ask permission if we can just go 10 minutes additional over time. And then that will allow me to just get Shemaine's question. There's no red tape. There's just everyone's comfort to, I know some people might be running to the airport, but there were 2 more hands that I saw. So one question over there, and then the gentleman over there to ask his question, and then we're done. Shemaine, can you just lift your microphone in front of you?
Thank you. So it was quite interesting to be here and listen to all of the showcasing and just some reflective comments, quick ones. But to start where some of the points that came up is that we need to understand how to build cultures, and that cultures change through a theory of change. And that happens in little points, little connecting dots, which is starting here today. And what I found interesting is that with some of the showcasing, the innovation focus was on the product or the service or the itself. And yet some of them in the room looked at the process of developing it and found the spaces for change. You found a space for change to change a proposal for research. Somebody else, I think it was MUT, found the space or the gap in the readiness program for employability. So the thing is, the point I want to make is, unfortunately though, that many of the people who are leading on this do not have the skills and competencies. So in addition to what we're doing, we need to start expand our understanding, excuse me, of what is needed in terms of competencies for our academics, for our professionals, for all of those things. And so too often we are looking at the innovation itself, but to change culture is starting to relook at how we incentivize people who work in the space, start to look at how we expand the competencies, because what is an innovative entrepreneurial academic? And do we have a program for that? And so my advice is, I worked in a university for 10 years, That's how I started going grey. So, is that if we have those skills, somebody talked about the D theory, looking at design, looking at user. It's all part of the users of a system. It's all part of us having a lens to look at when we see a problem. What is the opportunity here? And how do we get around it? So sometimes you don't have to take on the big fight, but look at what is the small wins that you can have that sets a precedent for other things, and learn how to speak in the language.
Yeah.
And so the big challenge for us at universities is how we move from bureaucracies to innovative cultures, which is going to be a long walk. Because, and I just want to add, 10 years ago when I headed the Center for Entrepreneurship at Wits Business School, none of the universities had entrepreneurship and innovation, the words in their strategy. Now, if you look at all of the strategies, the words are there. The culture and the resources are not there. So it's just the next phase of change. And all of us are those change makers.
Indeed, we are. Thank you so much. Quick question over here.
Very good afternoon, everyone. So I think for me, as also been someone that has been through incubation programs, and as well as someone that is also mentoring other entrepreneurs, I think the base problem is basically the base of the ecosystem. If you get to a point and people, and as well as we can't expect that all entrepreneurs are in university. I believe that majority of them aren't in university. And you get to someone that has a brilliant idea like a cashless payment solution, but they do not know how to go about with it. They need a business plan. They need to know how to pitch. They need to know financial literacy. And we're speaking about people that are on the ground that have very brilliant ideas, but we're not empowered enough to be taught about, okay, this is how you do financial literacy. You have to actually go through idea phase and actually see if it's actually feasible to actually do your business. Now we're just jumping into concepts and we're jumping because we have good ideas. And I believe that's why we're not brewing, for lack of a better word, COVID-proof, pandemic-proof inventions. And that's what we need in order for our country to pivot and our continent to pivot, is to produce innovations that they can pivot. So in closing, I'd just like to ask the universities, is it not possible that we can look into having a department outside of the university that will cater specifically for entrepreneurs and not university students? Thank you.
Good question. Thank you.
I think just to answer your question in terms of a department, I think it exists by the name of the Department of Small Business Development. So I think perhaps the question that we need to be asking ourselves is it an effective department or is it not an effective department? But it exists, just to answer your question, starting from there. But now, just coming down to, just a few things. And I think I should, to those that are young as I am, I think we should caution ourselves around understanding innovation. There is innovation and there are digital innovations, digital technologies and so on. Everyone now, when we think about innovation, everyone is developing an app somewhere in the corner there, and they want to enter into the market. I would like us to take ourselves back into understanding the basics of what innovation is. And then now, coming to the issue of, red tape, obviously today we cannot be defining that because of time. But now, coming down to the issues of red tape, just to make, my 2 cents, I think the most important thing in addressing red tape issues is that if you are to go as a student and say that the university IP framework does not enable me to do my innovation and so on, I don't think they're going to listen to you that much. So what is important is, as students within the universities, we need to try and create communities where we get to represent our own interests and views to these kind of structures. It's either at council level. If there's an entrepreneurship a community for students, it's easier for you then to go and say, we request a seat on council to speak around these kind of matters and so on. And you see whether that is going to work or not, starting by just those kind of activations. But now, just on the last one, the issue of, pitching, like how do you step out, and all those kind of things. I mean, it just starts with yourself and also just saying, relocating, and squeeze us in, and all those kind of things. But on the other end, what we need to do is, I think we need to change the idea of pitching to fit the context of where we live in. Pitching works better in the American, European, state of things because everyone is busy there. The executive is walking in a lift and now you're told that, tell me this thing in 3 minutes, in 30 seconds and so on. By the time the lift arrives, I need to have understood what you are saying. Think about it. I went to school in Guyana, in Limpopo. it was even difficult for us to go and do prepared speech. Then how then do I now immediately now, because I'm presenting a business, how am I able to now present this business in just 30 seconds like that? So I think what we need to do, and you would find that there's someone actually, when you are playing, this person is holding the center, they are telling a story, but when you say stand up, do prepared speech, they can't, but now everyone is listening when they're playing. This person is just like holding us, they're telling a story. So I think we need to understand what is the context of our society. Are we creating environments where people are just sitting, relaxed, and they're talking ideas and how they can contribute to each other's ideas? So I think we just need to change how we do things, Afrocentric, and also not forgetting technology-driven, and then also understanding the economic structures. He spoke very well about our socio-economic context. We can't expect everything that the Americans are doing because it won't work here. But how do we leverage on what we have? That is where innovation begins. And all of us are capable of that. Thank you.
Thank you. That's an excellent point, and I think that really comes back to African universities leading innovation and entrepreneurship, that a big part of how we lead is saying, what does this contextually look like for us, and how do we apply that in our context? We're going to wrap up our panel, so I'm going to allow everybody just one final closing remark. Jesse, I think that was your closing remark. That sounded very drop the mic-ish, So Jesse, I'll allow you your response, but before Jesse responds, I do want to say that if anybody in the room is interested in practicing how you pitch. We at Mentor are hosting Pizza and Pitch on Monday night. So our first one is this coming Monday. So if you check it out on our Instagram, you'll see the details for that. But it's Pizza and Pitch, okay? And our page is Mentor, so MENTHER, and you'll find the details there. Jesse.
Okay, so I think I was also quite tough on universities and how they should change, but I also think that entrepreneurs also need to be also mindful that if you work in a university, you have your own goals from getting to a certain level, to a professor or to whatever. So you have your own innate goals. So you're protecting your space, your innovation, your IP. IP in my life is like I think when I think of IP, I think ignorant people, because that kind of holds back a student that's come up with something that could really be the unicorn, right? But of course, the academia is protecting it for their own goals, and we have to also be mindful of that, and also not ignorant, that we understand that and we appreciate that, and we also support whatever their goals are. And then we have to come up with ideas of how we can work together to get to the reality of getting the unicorns out. Yeah.
Thank you very much. For my closing remarks, I want to give away tools. My book, Effective Youth Entrepreneurship, is new. It's available online, 400 pages with tools for free. When we developed the book, it was created to make it accessible and give the knowledge away for free. Please check out the book, Effective Youth Entrepreneurship. I am concerned that when we speak to university students in a place of knowledge, they say we need more. We need access to more information. And in a place where we form network partners, people are saying, but we need more network partners. So I want to provide this tool. Please go and access it and look at the tools section. And my call to action to you is, draw a circle with yourself on the inside, and then draw your ecosystem. Draw 8 blocks. The first block, you write internationalization, and you write the name, the phone number, and the emails of the international people that you made contact with today. It must be there. They're part of your ecosystem. The next one is large corporations. Name, phone number, emails. Who's the contacts that you got in large corporations? Other entrepreneurs. Name, phone number, emails. People in your communities, their names, number, and phone numbers. Government agencies, And private sector agencies, same thing. Write down who you know, and if you don't know, go and look them up. You must start, if you wonder, where can I access information and who's the people in my ecosystem, go and draw your youth entrepreneur support network, write the name and phone numbers down for yourself, get the information, and go. Take action. Thank you.
Thank you. In closing, I would like to thank British Council for funding the IAU program. And for universities, I think to really, because what I heard today, it was red tape, red tape, red tape. I think to address that, you can speak to Dr. Dako, Professor Dako, who has basically mastered again the model of overcoming that at CPUT, and then we're basically replicating that to different universities. And then for students, we're setting up technopreneurship societies, and then we've got a tour starting in March. We're basically doing 10 countries across the continent. We're starting with 3 universities in SA. CPUT, DUT, TUT, and then post that it's other 9 African countries. So look out for those things, and then we're basically again unpacking for IR and opportunities within that, moving with investors who are willing again to inject resources in those subsectors. Thank you.
Awesome. Chitso, Dr. Tia, Jesse, Risuna, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Please find them outside in the lobby, get their contact details, follow them on Instagram, LinkedIn, all those pages, and also their businesses as well, so that you can see what they're doing and plug in. Please give them a wonderful round of applause. You're starting with it. And then... that was the punchline. Yes, and oftentimes, if you don't ask, you never know, right? Before we run out of here, I'd like to ask Olipa to please come up to the stage. She's a higher education project manager here at the British Council, just to say thank you, and anything else that's important that we need to know. Maybe there's monies to be given away. Maybe there's who knows. Please give Olipa a round of applause.
From my side, I'm just going to do a quick thank you note to everyone who's here, but bringing it back to the showcase, I think we've done such a great work for network partners. We started this journey 2 years ago, 18, some of you have gone through the process for 18 months, some 2 years. We've been to your universities, you welcomed us, and we've been working together, different challenges, trying to solve them. Others were not solved, but here we are. So I'm really excited at what we've achieved so far. So from the British Council, I would like to just give some quick thank yous to the people that were here. First of all, the EDHE team, Richard, he's left already, and yeah, would like to thank EDHE for being here as well, because most of this network, it's connected to EDHE as well. So, and IAU network partners, University of Johannesburg, University of Witwatersrand, University of KwaZulu-Natal, Mangosuthu University of Technology, Cape Peninsula University of Technology, University of Free State, Stellenbosch University, Central University of Technology, Durban University of Technology. We thank you for being here and showcasing the products and projects that were developed under IAU, and to everyone else who has not been to the stand. I think most of the stands, they're still there. Please go ahead and find out what the IAU project is about. And for those universities that are here and they are not part of IAU, please look out for our future work as well, so that we can work together and make sure that all the universities in South Africa are taking part and part of this network going forward. So from that, I would like to thank Ntiki for being our awesome MC today. Thank you so much, Ntiki, for being here as well. And to everyone else, thanks for coming through and making this day what it has been. So thank you.
All right, thank you so much to Alipa, everybody, and thank you so much to you for being here today. Thank you for joining the conversation, sharing your insights. We really appreciate it. And to everybody who's watching at home, thank you. I know we have somebody who's joining from Nigeria, from Kenya, from Mpumalanga, and around South Africa. We appreciate every single one of you who's made the time to be with us throughout the entire live stream. Much appreciated. And that is it. I apologize we ran out of it over time, but I think it was a good time. And there was really good insights. And a quote I'd like to share by Dante, I can't even say his surname, but he says that the secret of getting things done is to act. Yes. So act, okay? We've identified issues, we've had certain things resonate in the room. Let the conversation not end here. Go back to your institutions, your corporates, your startups, whatever it is, and take action. And once again, I'd like you to go and write on the post-its at the reception desk. Tell us, yes, the feedback, but also what is your one commitment, okay? So when you leave here today, what's the one gap that you have seen where you can go, I can change that space by doing this particular thing? And let's see where we land. But I look forward to seeing you at the next one of these things. I know there's another one happening in March with the international partners. And then just to let you know, we will be sending out the presentations and some of the posters as well. So I know the people online weren't able to see the posters. We'll share those with you. And then we are putting together a booklet. So thank you so much to the IAU Network partners for sending through your information for that. The decision was made to have that actually be part of the bigger showcase with the other partners. So that will be coming your way once it is published. Otherwise, from me and Sigim Keith, it's been an absolute pleasure to host you today. Thank you so much. And we will be networking. There is cocktails and yummy things where we had lunch. So please make your way outside, network at the stand, take pictures, and remember, please tag us and hashtag Unite to Grow and hashtag IAU. Travel safely, and we'll see you at the next British Council event. Good evening. Thanks.